Good morning, y'all. Good morning, good morning. Good morning. I am on a little bit later than usual. I'm typically at this time have already done my cardio. But today was one of those days where I allowed myself to get a little bit more rest. And seems that wait might not have been the best idea, y'all, because it is at that point in the morning where the sun is legitimately out and it is a little bit warm. Probably not the hottest that it's gonna get, but it's definitely warm. Our declaration, though, as you guys are coming in, is gonna be trust the process. That was the word that the Lord put in my spirit. Hold on one second, you guys. Okay. All right. So, again, our declaration is trust the process. That is the word that the Lord gave to me this morning as I was in prayer. That was what He told me that He wanted me to kind of talk about. But more so trusting the process from the confines of your new season. Many of us are either heading into the new thing, and some of us have already crossed over into the new thing that God is doing in this season. And I think, the past few days, God has really been dealing with me concerning trusting the process. And not responding to the new thing from a place of trauma. I think triggers are something that, to a certain degree, we all have from life circumstances, from different things that, maybe we have gone through in the past. And so sometimes when God does a new thing and we encounter something that makes us feel, like we're in the old thing, sometimes it makes us want to respond in a kind of way, defending I guess that's not the right word, but it makes us want to respond from a place of fear. It makes us want to kind of like respond from a place of wanting to protect ourselves from having to go through something that is traumatic. I've been maneuvering through this new season. One of the things that I've been noticing that God has been telling me a lot about is, the phrase rather, don't think worst case scenario. I'm going to say that again. When it revolves around like this new season, especially as things pop up that kind of trigger me into feeling like I'm about to is don't think worst case scenario. I need someone to type that in on the screen. Have y'all ever had a moment where, and I know I'm breathing hard, y'all, it's hot and I'm walking. So I may be talking a little bit slower than, usual. But again, one of the things that God has been telling me as new things have been happening, different things have been happening, and I'm going to be real, some of the things have kind of jarred me a little bit, especially when I know what I've been through. But have y'all ever been through something, or maybe you're in a new season yourself and something happened, you're about to go back through something that you've already come out of, and so even if you don't know what the outcome of a situation is going to be, your mind is already thinking worst case scenario. It's like a defense mechanism where we start thinking worst case scenario because we start thinking about how can that I've already went through. And so that's been one of the phrases. Don't think worst case scenario. And I didn't realize it until this morning that really what God was doing by saying that, what He was really saying is, don't compare this new thing to what you've already gone through. One thing I've just been kind of reflecting on has been like the new puppy. For those of y'all that don't know, God gave me a puppy a week ago. Last Friday, not this past Friday, but the Friday before. Literally a day after, a day after Bella's 1 month anniversary from being like put down was, right? And so got the puppy his shots, Mr. Bo. And maybe like the next day after I got him his shots, I had been giving him treats and got his little cage set up to where he can be comfortable. And there was a moment the next day after he had gotten his shots where, and this is going to sound graphic, but I promise y'all I'm going somewhere. Red, which anyone knows, poop is not supposed to be that color. And so my mind immediately went to like a trigger from my wilderness. Now, in 2016, I got Bella, and she had a brother. His name was Isaac. And that is an entirely different story for another day. That story of losing Isaac, but I got to go there today. So when they were, they were maybe about four to 5 months when I got them, Bella and Isaac, found them, strays. And Isaac was my favorite. I'm going to just be real. Isaac was my favorite. It's funny how the tables turned because Bella then became my favorite. But Isaac was my favorite. And one day, as I was walking him outside my mom's house, just letting him use the restroom, the Lord asked me this question. He said, which one? I'm thinking, it was a weird question. He just asked those 2 words, which one? And I knew that what he was asking me to do was to make a choice. Which dog? But me and that, I really didn't know what the meaning of that question was until later on. So when God asked me that question, I promise y'all I'm going somewhere. I said, Lord, Isaac. I'm thinking, maybe God is asking me who's my favorite. He was asking me who's my favorite. Said Isaac. Maybe about a month after that question, I'm no longer thinking about it. Something strange happened. Isaac became kind of sick. It started off with, him having diarrhea, right? Not really feeling well. Shortly after that, like shortly meaning like a day, I started to see blood, and I know that this is graphic, but I'm trying to get to the point of and the root of what God is saying for this new season. Long story short, he had contracted parvo, and I literally watched him die. In fact, the day that Monday, when I had taken him to the vet, I knew then he smelled like death, like he was just oozing out blood. Every time he used the restroom, it was just literally a bloody mess. Kid y'all not. So I lost him to parvo. Look it up. It is one of the most some puppies contract, and it kills a lot of puppies. It's not abnormal. It's just something that if they don't get vaccinated for it, they have a good chance of contracting it. So maybe like 2 days or a day after, Bella actually contracted parvo, and she beat it. We caught it quick enough, and she had like a 24-hour turnaround. In fact, my old vet called her a miracle dog. So for years, that was a trigger because it was traumatic. I literally watched him die. And so back to Mr. Bo. So when I saw the red poop, that was initially what I thought. And the first thing that I knew to do was take this dog to the vet. He was acting normal, besides that. But you want to know what God told me in that moment of heading to the ER? He told me, he kept repeating, don't think worst case scenario. And I knew what he was saying was, this is a different season, right? Out of a place of fear, don't respond to it out of a place of trauma. And so it's like, sometimes hearing God say that is easier said than done when you feel like what's being presented to you looks exactly like something else that you've gone through, something that has scarred you, or, it looks like you're about to be put in a bind again, right? Because we've all been in our processes, and in the moment of you feeling like you can breathe again, it just feels like the rug continuously gets pulled from under your feet, right? And so, long story short, we were at the ER. I got there at an unbusy time, but we were at the ER. They over-exaggerated. It was God's doing. They over-exaggerated things to such a degree that they said, hey, you got to sit out in the car, because parvo is something that is extremely contagious. So we waited about an hour and a half, and the technician came out to supposedly run a test. I promise y'all I'm going somewhere. She came out to run like the test. So she looks at my dog. She's like, I don't think he has parvo. It was, see, he's acting normal. Dogs with parvo don't act like this. But she said, what I can do is I can just take a look at his poop for you, because it may be something that he's eating. And she said, I'm not going to charge you for it. She looked around. She said, I won't tell if you don't tell. And she looked at his poop. She like, oh yeah, this is just something that he ate. Come to find out, I thought about it. It was the treats, the color of the treats, and possibly the old food that they had been giving him. In that moment of leaving, I kept hearing the Lord say over and over, I told you this is a different season. I told you not to think worst case scenario. And I think that many of us, as we go throughout the new thing that God is doing, as we maneuver through the new season that God is bringing many of us to, that things are not just going to be different, but they're going to be so different in a way that God is helping us heal from things that have traumatized us. And so for many people, you may find yourself being triggered, right? But the Lord says to tell you, don't think worst case scenario, because for many people, as quickly as you may feel triggered, it's going to be as quickly as God shows you that this is a brand new season. And so that is where the declaration, trust the process, comes from. Because what God is saying is, trust how I lead you in this season. Trust that the way that I lead you is not going to bring you down a path that makes you have to repeat things, right? That maybe you've had to repeat over and over and over again in the past. Trust that what he's doing in this season is utterly setting you up to win in every single area of your life. And if I can be real, this season has been very, very much so strange, but not strange in a bad way. It's been one of those things or seasons where even the random instructions of God have proven not to be so random. I'm going to say that again. It's been, weird instructions, weird things that have happened. And as things have been happening, what God has been showing me is, listen, it was all for a reason. Just trust how I'm leading you. And so that was the word that he gave me on this morning. And I don't know who needs to hear this, but stop thinking worst case scenario. I'm going to say it again. Stop thinking worst case scenario. And again, it's something that's easier said than done, because we all have things that have scarred us. We all have gone through things, lost things that, make it hard for us to kind of trust God, if that makes sense. Hold on one second, you guys. Hold on one second. Hold on. Okay. I think, we all have gone through things that, make it hard for us to trust God in certain areas, whether it's financially, whether it's a job, whether it's housing, whatever the case may be. But what God is simply saying is, although the path may look the same, this season presents a different outcome. I'm going to say that again. Although certain things may look the same in this season, the difference will be that this season produces a different type of fruit. You know, I can attest to that in so many different ways. A lot of times I think, especially when you've been living a life of faith, living in obedience, sometimes you just be thinking or feeling like your obedience is not going to lead anywhere. And sometimes I think it gets to a point in the process where when God tells you to do stuff, you just really don't have an expectation, you know, because of the letdowns, the disappointments, the hurt that you've experienced in the past. And so what I've also noticed in this season is just even like little things that God has told me to do, it has all brought me to a place of seeing something that I really didn't expect, a different outcome, if that makes sense. And so trust the process. That is, you know, the declaration. Trust the process. Whatever God tells you to do it in this season. Do it. As triggers come up, as different things present themselves that potentially, you know, jar you a little bit, trust the process even then, and trust God to show you that this season will be different. This is not one of those seasons where God is just talking about it. I'm going to say that again. This ain't one of them seasons where God is just talking about it. I'm going to say that again, because we all have been in seasons where you just kind of feel like, man, God just talking. I ain't seeing no movement. But this is not one of those seasons talking about what he's going to do. This is one of those seasons where if you can operate in full obedience, you're going to see him move on your behalf. I'm going to say that again. This is going to be one of those seasons where God is saying, I'm not just going to talk about it. But for many people, as you obey, as you follow him, you're going to see him move on your behalf. And for many people, he's been having me say this, but for many people, areas that have been super duper stagnant, you're about to see movement. It's just about patience. It's just about trusting his timing, trusting how he has things flowing in your life, and trusting, honestly, that the season will be different. People say all day long, oh, I receive that this is my season, that blah, 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 blah. But then they you know, really don't believe because of past failures, you know, previous disappointments. They really, that belief is really not there. And I can't judge, because I've definitely been there before, because you feel like you wait so long and nothing ever happens. So saying that you receive it is just like something that you unconsciously say because you feel like it's what you're supposed to say. Many people won't express the doubt that they have when it revolves around truly believing that things are going to be different in their life. And so I think that in this season, because many of us have gone through a season where it legitimately almost took you out. But I believe that in this season, God is restoring hope. He's restoring faith. He's restoring, you know, us to that point where it becomes easy to believe him again, where it becomes easy to step out on faith, where you know, we willingly want to obey God. And I'm going to be real about this too. There comes a point sometimes when you go through things that are so rough where sometimes like obedience becomes like hard to do. I don't know if anybody has ever experienced that. Sometimes it just be hard to obey because you like, God, every time I obey you, something happened. And it gets to a point where sometimes your spirit or your flesh begins to rebel against your spirit man. And so sometimes people delay their obedience. Hey, Natasha, sometimes people just flat out don't obey God. Don't let that person be you in this season, because God again is saying that in this season, there's going to be movement and there's going to be action on your behalf. And so that is the broadcast. That is the message that the Lord gave me on this morning. Trust the process. Even though, you know, things around you may look the same. Even though you may have some things pop up that potentially trigger you. This season produces a new result. It produces something that is so much different than what any of us have ever experienced before. And so if you do nothing else today, believe. If you do nothing else today, like, give God a yes. And so that is it, y'all. That is coming in. Please go watch this thing from the very beginning. To those of you guys that feel led to sow, the links are there to sow. You can sow via Cash App or the PayPal. To those of you guys that need to pay your tithes, pay your tithes. Don't sit in disobedience. Even if you're not paying your tithes to this ministry, pay your tithes. And so also, if you need prayer or feel led to book a session, you guys can do those things. But right now, that is it. And so I love y'all, man. I am rooting for you guys that are coming in, are going to go towards, I need to get my website back up and running. So there are certain things that I've got to pay for on there so that they don't take my website down again, and so that I don't have to pay a restoration fee of $75. And so that is where we are right now. I want to say that goal to get everything paid for the website and to get it up and running is around $26. And so that's my goal today, to get that taken care of so that I can get back up and running that way. And so that's my only goal right now. I love y'all though. I'm rooting for you. If you are sowing, the seed title is Trust the Process, or you may feel led to label this your don't think worst case scenario seed. So till next time, y'all. Peace.